Hello and welcome back to the building of this fence in Jungmeister. This is a model that I've been working on for quite some time now. I've tried a number of new techniques to me. The main one perhaps has been the use of polyester dress lining for the covering, and how I've actually done that you can see in some of the earlier videos. I've now moved on after lots of prevarication on what I'm going to scheme I'm going to apply. I've selected one, and the one that I've selected is now a unregistered Jungmeister in the UK, GBVXJ, and it's got a scheme that actually caught my eye. You can see there's a rather striking tail fin area with an orange stabiliser and a white rudder with a big black cross and an orange at the very tip of it there. The wings themselves have the same coloration on the wing tips, on the upper wing and on the lower wing. The insignia it actually goes all the way from the cockpit down towards the tail in large letters. And the front of the cowl is also that nice orange tone. So what I propose to do today is to spend a little bit of time at least starting to put the lettering onto the side of the fuselage. The tail surfaces aren't fixed. That's deliberate because it makes the handling of the aircraft a lot easier when I'm actually putting these coverings on. And actually putting the insignia on, and you'll also notice that I've removed the undercarriage for the same reason. So I'll pause it here and I'll explain how I go about transferring the registration numbers onto the fabric covering. So the first stage is actually to produce some templates for the registration numbers and roundel. Now, I struggled to actually produce these on the computer, basically down to my computer illiteracy. So I've actually hand drawn them onto graph paper using the photographs as a reference point. And I've marked them on the position that they will appear on the actual fuselage side. And what I propose to do is simply mark out in pencil where they are and then mask them off one at a time. I've actually already done the letter J. Now the straight edges were masked and the curved sections were done freehand. And I'm going to illustrate basically the masking technique on this letter X. There's no easy way to do it by freehand, you just need literally a steady hand. I've found that producing a curve using the masking tape often doesn't adhere to the fabric covering very well at all. And although it is doable, I just don't think it's worth the pain, and I'm quite happy with how steady my hand work is, so that's the way I've done it. I'm sure it's not for everyone, but it's how I've done it. And what I'll do now is I'll start setting the X up and show you how to mask it so that you don't get any bleed underneath the surface. Once I've committed to actually painting this letter G on, the rest of the letters are going to be spaced and orientated using this as a reference. And I've started with this one because I can see from the photograph that the top of the J cuts into the door flap on this side. And I was able to accurately locate it using that as an indicator and a base. Given that this fuselage may not be exact scale, that's as close as I can get. So X comes next, and I've looked at this gap here on the photo, and that looks about right. So all I'm going to do is mark on the position of this letter holding my breath because I'm concentrating. Take that off now. I can take this off now. I'm just going to put a box under the back of the tape to stop it moving around. There you go, that's solid now. So, if I take some masking tape out that I have here, I'm using basically, it looks like a copy of a Tamiya masking tape. It's a thin tape. It's not too sticky, so hopefully it won't rip off the covering. And I'm simply going to mask along that line. Doing one leg of the X at a time. This is obviously one of the easier letters to do for that reason. There we go. And then across. And likewise for the top of the leg. And then I'll show you the next important step. So there we go. The first part of the leg's masked, and now then I'll show you the next important step. This next part is the key to getting a crisp edge, and that is you take the base colour and you paint along the edge of the mask with the base colour. And by simply doing this, what you achieve is you seal the mask. And any bleed which may occur, and even with the best tape I've found there's a chance of that, any bleed that does occur is a bleed of the base colour, which will make it invisible. So I'm just applying along the edge some of the grey in this case, and then once that's dried I'll paint over the top in the black, and then when we remove it you'll see zero bleed occurs. So there we go, I've painted that along. Let's leave that to dry for a few moments. I'll have a coffee and then we'll come back and paint the black. Now that that base coat is thoroughly dried, it's time to apply the black. So here we go. Just spotted a stray bristle there. So over the mask. I'm using Vallejo water-based acrylics here. I find them to be an excellent paint. In fact, I can't fault them. This is the brush version. You can get an airbrush thinner mix if you wish to use them directly in an airbrush. I could airbrush this, but really I don't mind the brush finish on a model of this size. I think it's quite acceptable. So there we go. Let's let that dry and then we'll do the reveal and see how it's come out once the mask's removed. Okay, that's just about dried. Time to pull back the covering, the tape rather. Pull the tape back onto itself. When you're removing it. Always try to avoid sticking down the tape right at the end. I've failed here. Lack of nails, there you go. that seems to have worked really well. There you go, one to do, and then that's one leg of the X completed. There you go. And because I've painted the base underneath, you can see that there's been no bleed through the tape, and guaranteed a sharp edge. Rather pleased with that. I'll carry on and I'll eventually show you it all completed, perhaps not on this video, but it was just to demonstrate how to mask. Take care now.